Hi, I'm Dani Johnson. Thanks so much for joining us today. Have you ever thought about who you are surrounding yourself with? This is something that someone challenged me more than 30 years ago. It's a terrible thing to say that. But more than 30 years ago, after I had grown up in a violently abusive, drug-infested home where I was emotionally, mentally, physically abused, so was my mother and my sisters. And I was also sexually abused. In fact, I was sexually abused from the time I was 3 until I was 16. I moved out of the house because I was done. I didn't care if I ended up homeless, which I eventually did, but not at 16. I didn't care. Something had to change. When I was 19, I got introduced to a group of people who were business people. Now, see, how I grew up, I wasn't raised around business people at all. You know, my mom and dad were welfare recipients. And when they received a settlement due to my mom breaking her neck, now it was all the same people that were around us. We were just in a different house. And so I was surrounded by the television, the kind of music that my parents listened to, which, to be honest with you, was like the greatest music I think of all times, the music from the 80s. And I'm not talking about Madonna. I'm talking about, never mind. Anyway, so the reality is that those things influenced my life until I was 19. And when I was 19, I got introduced to a group of business people. And those business people radically changed the way I thought, how I saw life, decisions that I made. Just their influence on me took me on a completely different path than the path that I was on. And I'm so grateful that I was so young when I met them. And I often have thought, gosh, if I was 50 and I had met them, would I have had the same kind of drive to make the changes that I made? I'm not so sure. I really don't know. But what I do know is that I was really blessed that at 19, I got introduced to entrepreneurs, how they thought, how they made decisions, how they saw life, how they went after things versus the environment that I grew up in. Now, you might be wondering right now, like, Dani, what does this have to do with anything? It has everything to do with everything because birds of a feather really do flock together and someone's influencing you and you're being mentored by something and or someone, whether you like it or believe it or not. You're being mentored by a certain people that you're choosing to surround yourself with. Some years back, my husband and I were having a conversation. There was something that was happening within our extended family. And he said something that was so profound. In fact, so often, Hans says things that are so profound. And what he had said was, because there was somebody acting out in a not so ethical way, kind of in a dishonorable way, and my heart was breaking as I'm watching this because I'm watching a young person make choices that are just sad. They were just sad, meaning you would think they would know better. You would think that they know that the seed that they were sowing was going to reap a harvest that was going to be very, very painful. And yet the individual would not listen at all to any good wisdom, would only listen to one particular voice that was incredibly toxic. And what my husband had said is, he says, well, honey, think about it. She's being mentored by this other individual. And I just went, what? Look who her mentor is. And I never saw the other family member as a mentor. I would never consider that person earning the title mentor. But in all reality, the younger one was certainly being mentored by the much older one because the much older one was the one influencing the much younger one's decisions. The older one was influencing greatly her choices, who she was surrounding herself with, and because they were spending so much time communicating with each other, now the younger one was literally making the same exact choices that the older, much older one had made when she was young in her life. And even though the younger one could see, I don't want that life, Even though she could look at that life and go, there is nothing I want. There's no part of that I want in that person's life. I don't want to be like them. I don't want to raise kids how they raised them. I don't want to end up with the same problems that they had. Even though intellectually she could say that, the reality was she was taking advice from somebody that did not have the life that the younger one wanted. And so when my husband said that, I was like, man, I never would have thought that elder one was a mentor. But in all reality, that is the truth. So I say this to you. Who is mentoring you? Whose voice is in your ear? Whose voice is coming out of your mouth? And what are the results that you have in your life because you're listening to the wrong mentors? That if you're going to have mentors and role models, you might want to establish who you want them to be. Because you may have picked role models and mentors that you don't want the life they have. But subconsciously, you've picked them without even making a choice to pick them, but just by association, just because they're around you a lot, just because their influence is in your life, you've bent your ear to hear what they have to say, never even looking at the fruit that is in their own lives. Are they in debt? Do they have do they have carnage of broken relationships in their past? Do they have even messy, toxic past marriages in their past? Do they have a consistency of toxicity in their life? Be careful. Because if you're taking advice from those people, even if it is your sister-in-law or your brother-in-law, even if it is your brother, your sister, even if it is your aunt, your uncle, your grandparent, even if it is your coworker, your very best friend, you want to be wise, friend, and you want to see the fruit that is in that person's life that is giving you personal advice about your current situation that seems impossible. Because somebody who has a track record of toxicity or a track record of dysfunction, which means that they do not have the ability to functionally work out the problems, as says my youngest son, Micah Johnson. So beautiful. If they don't have the ability to work those issues out, you really shouldn't be taking advice from those people. You see, those who are hurting and have lived a very toxic life, and maybe right now they're on a nice little hiatus of not having a whole lot of toxicity at the moment, the bottom line is their habit is toxicity. I would watch yourself, friend. I'd watch it. I'd be very, very careful. And so here's what I want you to do right now is I want you to make a list of the people who you listen to and that you share your inner thoughts with, that you share your troubles with. Make a list of the people that you share your challenges with. Even that you share your bad day with, like, oh, something happened at work and blah, 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 and you just want to, kind of like a 3-year-old does, right? I want you to write down who you do that with. And I want you to look at the level of maturity, the level of understanding. I want you to look at the track record of their life. Are they overcomers? Are they underachievers? Are they workaholics? Are they balanced in their life? Do they have the quality marriage that you want? Do they have the kind of relationship with their children that you want? What's their relationship with money? Are they wise financially? Are they wise about their future? Or is there a carnage of bad relationships, both with people and with money and their work and relationships and their church relationships? Please, make the list. And I want you to spend a couple of minutes. And I'll tell you, most people aren't going to do what I'm asking them to do right now. Most people are so busy. In fact, you might even be driving the car as you're listening to this right now. Or maybe you're organizing a closet while you're listening to this. Who knows what it is that you're doing. But I'm going to ask you to stop. Pull over. I'm going to ask you to stop. I'm going to ask you to make the list. Because you might have a great relationship with your close friend or whoever this associate is or family member. And if you are spewing to them the trouble in which you're having in your marriage or with your kid or at work or with money, and you're spewing to them, why? Because they're a good listening ear and because you have a great relationship, I want you to be cautious with the advice they're speaking to you. Because if they have a track record of toxicity and irresponsibility and or a lack of wisdom or carnage of bad relationships in their life and horrible financial choices, the only place they can speak from is from their truth. They can only speak from the truth of their past, which is what? Toxic relationships, bad financial choices that then result in I'm the victim and someone else needs to take care of this for me. The only place they can speak from is from the 3 jobs that they've been fired from and they're still a victim and they've taken no personal responsibility on how to fix it. If they are an overcomer, and they are transparent and they have learned from their mistake and they have fixed those things, well, then that's the person that can now speak that life into you. They're the ones that maybe you should listen to the advice from. But again, if they do not have the track record that you're looking for, but their track record is a bottle of gin and or video games for hours on end and they're running from something. I'm not saying that everyone that plays video games is running from something, but I'm saying healthy with video games versus like I'm running from my life and I'm being irresponsible with that. They're going to advise you and pull you in to their coping mechanisms, their coping habits that will keep them stuck. And sadly, most for an entire lifetime. And that's not the life that is set apart for you. That's not what you are called to. That's not what you're drawn to. That's not the life that you're supposed to live. You know you're supposed to step up, rise up, and do something great with your life. That's what you know. And if you're not surrounding yourself with people that will speak that into your life and not allow you to wallow in your victimization or wallow in your pride, but instead challenge you to step up, rise up, and do something great with your life. Those are the ones who are your role models. Those are the ones who are your mentors. And outside of that, you need to be wise. Wise as a serpent, gentle as a dove. So friend, hear me out. Write the list out. I want you to look at the quality of the life of those who are mentoring you and that are your role models. Well, they're not my role models, but you listen to them. They are your role models. You're getting advice from them. They are your mentors. So you might want to readjust what that relationship looks like and change what you share with them because they can only speak from their places of failure in which they have not learned from yet. And what they will tell you is not how to change your life, but how to make your life worse and to make your circumstances worse. Those people, those exact people, who maybe are going through the same thing you're going through right now are the people that are going to help you stay stuck in the horrible situation that you're currently in. So how do we get out of the bad circumstance that we're in? We have to reach for role models and mentors, and to be honest with you, the best one of all, the creator of the heavens and the earth, the one who planted you in your mother's womb, the one that chose you to be alive during this time, the one who also picked the circumstances in which you're living in right now so that he can strengthen you, so that he can mentor you, so that he could guide you, so that he could be your God, that he could be your everything, that he would be the one that would show himself to be completely trustworthy as he pulls you through this season of darkness perhaps that you might finding yourself in right now. He will also surround you with other voices. I remember when I was homeless. When I was a homeless woman at 21 years old and I was experimenting with different types of drugs and I was a mess. I just did everything to mess up my life. I was just stupid in all reality. My God did send messengers to me and voices of truth and voices of hope. And I was also surrounded by everybody else who believed what I believed at the time. And that was I was a victim and everything always bad happens to me. Nothing's ever going to get any better. Give me a joint. Give me another drink. Let me have sex with somebody else. I mean, these were my coping mechanisms. And I was surrounded with people who they coped in the same exact way. They were whining about their job. They were whining about not having enough money. They were hating the government. Happened bad in their childhood and in their past. And that's what they sat around doing. And I found myself misery loves company, but it was driving me deeper down into a pit that I didn't think I was going to be able to get myself out of. But God did send different people. In fact, I called them like 3 angels. There were 3 perfect strangers who each spoke something to me. It happened all within a couple of weeks. And they each spoke something, truth into me, truth that I knew, but that truth was buried underneath a pile of disastrous things that I had literally done to myself, but I did not see that I had done it to myself. I had seen that it was my ex-husband that did it to me. It was my parents that did it to me, right? It was my ex-mentor that did it to me. There's no justice in this world that did it to me. I was a huge victim. And I have to tell you, I'm so very grateful, because when you start to wake up out of the victimized slumber and you start to see all the voices of victimization that you are surrounding yourself with, that is when, my friend, that you can start to wake up and see the living God, where he says, nothing is impossible for me, that he watches you. Man, if his eye is on the sparrow, his eye is certainly on you, that he's trustworthy. He'll never leave you nor forsake you, no matter how you feel right now in this moment. And you're going to be able to press through this stuff. But I'm telling you right now, you need to pick the right mentors and you need to pick the right role models. And sometimes those mentors and role models are people that you don't see every day. It could be something like this right here, right now, right on a video. It could be a video that you hear. It could be a book that you're reading. But you want to be surrounded by people of truth, people who understand how to overcome, people who understand restoration, people of hope, people of real love, not toxic love, but real love. People of understanding. And it's very important that you gravitate towards that kind of mentorship and that kind of role models. I remember when I came up out of my slumber, I stopped listening to everybody at the bar that I was working with. I started to change who it was that I was surrounding myself with. And I started to just cling to truth and hold on to that truth and focus on that truth like it was my last drop of water and I'm in a desert. It changed my whole life. It changed every area of my life, to the point that, well, and that next year I made $250,000 starting a business from the trunk of my car in a payphone booth. And by the end of my second year, I made my first million. So I promise you that what I'm sharing with you is vitally important. So please do that assessment and do it now. And then make the decision of who will I choose to listen to. God bless you. I hope today was a blessing to you. Please share it. Somebody else needs to hear this message. Somebody else is going through something really, really tough, and they need help out, and you can be the one that helps them right out by simply sharing this message with them. God bless, and we'll see you soon, hopefully at a live event at First Steps to Success. Check the website, Dani Johnson, that's one N and I.com for more information.